Welcome to Heart Talks. The purpose and intention for these talks is to inspire, empower, and to bring a higher perspective and community awareness with topics not only in real estate, but also in finance, relationships, wellness, and spirituality. So get ready and enjoy as we share our next episode on Heart Talk. Welcome to Heart Miracles. Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to bring in another episode for our podcast. And today we have a special guest. All our guests are special, but this particular guest goes really deeply in my heart. She is one of my very good friends. I've had the pleasure of knowing her, oh my gosh, we'll say, for the past 30 years. We worked together as underwriters for Countrywide Lending. We worked in beneficial. We just go really way back. And I finally got her on our podcast, which I'm super, super excited. So I'd like to welcome one of my good friends, Sylvia. Welcome,
Hi.
Sylvia.
Thank you for having me, Lala.
Of course, we finally got you on our podcast, Sylvia. Yay! And Sylvia, you're here with REMAX Champions
Yes.
and Champions Mortgage
Yes.
as a senior loan officer.
Mm-hmm.
But best of all, you're one of my good friends that we have
Thank you.
stayed together
Yes.
all these
The
years.
ups and downs.
Ups and downs. Even if we, didn't see each other every day, somehow we always came back to the same place.
Yep.
And
I love it.
and unknowingly, I think it was 8 years ago in 2018.
Yes.
You decided to come here to REMAX Mortgage or Champions Mortgage and
Yes.
REMAX Champions. But I had no idea that you were going to be working here. And then I shared with you that I was also coming to REMAX Champions. And here we are again working together after so many years. So
I love it. It's a blessing.
it's a blessing,
Yes.
definitely a blessing. So Sylvia, today we're going to get to hear a little bit more about you. We're going to get a
I
little
can't
bit
wait.
personal, hopefully. And just, sharing about who you are and all the wonderful things that you've been doing in your life.
Okay.
So I just want for you to introduce yourself, just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do here at Champions Mortgage.
Okay. Well, hi, I'm Sylvia. I've been in the mortgage industry, I would have to say, since probably 1995. I started with the idea of helping families, such as my parents, when they first bought their first home. They ended up in a property that they couldn't afford.
Mm,
Back at that time, I guess it was common
yeah.
that they can put you in a home and do what they needed to do to get you to qualify. At that time, I had just returned back from the military, and we were in a new home that my parents had purchased, but we realized that they couldn't afford it.
Wow.
So at that time, my brother, sister, and I, we decided we all need to work and help pay for this house. Um, I've always been a curious person, so that prompted me to want to find out what happened. How did my parents qualify for this house with a house payment much higher than what they earn? Um, I wanted to. I know the language was a barrier because they didn't speak English,
Right.
and the real estate agent and the lender were English speaking only. So because I'm bilingual, I saw an opportunity to try to figure out a way to help families get into a home ownership without running into challenges or problems.
Well, see, I've known you all these years, I'd say over 30 years, and this is the first time I hear that story. Or maybe you did share it with me and I wasn't paying attention.
It's so long. We have so many stories.
Yes, well, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. So I didn't know that. So your parents were put into a home and they could barely afford it.
Yes.
And that's what brought you into the passion of mortgage lending.
It did.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
That's beautiful.
Actually, my original goal was growing up, I wanted to be a teacher.
Oh,
I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher, actually, because I have a passion for children. But after, life happens, we all sort of decide we're going forward and we end up deviating and going different directions. But when this happened with my parents, I felt the need to jump in and learn more about it. And I fell in love with the industry.
mm.
So,
And like I say, God has a different purpose for us.
100%.
He
Yes.
knew where you were needed most and where
Yes.
your gifts are. And I really feel that mortgage lending is your gift because you're so
Thank
good
you.
at it.
I love
And
it.
you
Yes.
know, and like I said, I've had the pleasure of working with you back in the, we call it the beneficial days back, like
Yes.
you said, 1995. We were in the storefront, in
Retail.
the retail in the heart of Santa
Yes.
Ana.
Doing personal loans, auto
Personal
loans, repossessing cars,
Yeah.
taking people to court.
Taking the people, and you know, the beautiful part, what I remember at Beneficial, because we were at a storefront there, in the heart of Santa Ana, only Spanish speaking community
Correct.
surrounded us.
Yes.
But the beauty of it is back then, people would come into our branch and make their payments, and it would be very personal.
Mhm.
And we got to know everyone,
Yeah.
on a heart to heart basis, and you know, we would know their kids and their family, and that was a blessing because in retail you really do that. You take the application, you run the credit, and we collect it.
Mhm.
You know, we also used to go in our cars and collect the payment for $80 or what have you.
Yep.
Which obviously we
did.
can't do that now. We didn't even think about it,
We
right?
didn't think of the danger. No, no, no. We're like, no problem.
We're like, oh, we're going to Compton, we're going to collect an $80 payment, and we're like, oh yeah, let's do it. You know,
Yes,
so
I
I know what the value and the knowledge you hold because of that. And then later in life, once again, our lives came together
Yes.
when we worked at Countrywide. We were in the
Yes.
underwriting wholesale subprime, all those loans that came down in 2008, but we were also in a pilot program where we were
Mhm.
literally evolving that department. Like
We
we were the
were.
pioneers of that.
We were the ones. Yes.
Yeah.
We were known for the subprime program that helped fund a lot of loans that perhaps the traditional way they couldn't qualify.
Right.
But at that time we were in the wholesale
We
channel,
were.
so that meant we're dealing with brokers directly, and then not dealing with clients, and it was a whole different
Right.
idea
Idea.
of that what we learned working from finance company to a mortgage.
Yeah, I remember we were getting like 100 files a day.
Yes.
And we would split them up amongst all the
Mhm.
wholesale underwriters. And you're right, and that's interesting. You just brought something to my mind right now. Is we were in the wholesale, but now we're the broker. Now we're submitting.
Now we're
the
on the other
files.
side.
We're on the other side,
Yes.
so we were able to serve all areas of
Yep.
the lending industry. And then, of course, 2008 came, and then we also saw the downfall of all those subprime loans. But we were also in the mix of that,
Yes, we were.
collecting and modifications, short sales, foreclosures,
Everything. But then I took time off. I don't know if you remember.
Yes,
I was gone from the industry for about 10 years.
You were.
I took a break to
Mhm.
raise my family. And then when I decided to come back, that was quite a challenge because my resume said I was amazing at all these things
Yes.
10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, I'm really good 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, so that was like I really had to think hard and say, this is where I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have time to doubt myself and my ability to learn
That's
because
right.
I've done it so many times. So I just went out there and got myself back in the
In
industry.
business.
Yeah, and actually I went straight into corporate.
Yes, you did, and I remember that. I remember I got the phone call from you, and you're
Yes.
like, "Lala, like this is where I'm at. What can I do?" And I remember telling you, we had this conversation, like, Sylvia, everything you need is within you because once you learn this
That's so true.
industry,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we're old school.
Yeah.
We're definitely old school. So we never forget. It's like riding a bike. And I said, it's all there. It's just a matter of getting out there. You have a beautiful personality. You're a go getter. You're on fire. Like, I'm sure anybody out there is going to want to hire you.
Thank you.
And it was a blessing because you did. You went out there and you did what you had to do.
I did.
And here you are.
Yeah, here I am. And I think what prompted me to become a loan officer. So I always felt that I would do everything in the industry except sales.
Mm.
I would always tell myself,
Yeah.
sales is not for me. That's something I would never do. I'll do everything else, but not sales. Life happens. I end up divorced, and I hadn't worked for 10 years, and I knew what I wanted. I wanted to go back in the industry, but I still wanted to be a mother to my daughter. I
Yes.
wanted to be part of her life.
Yes.
I wanted to have the flexibility to continue to raise her. And
Yeah.
at that time, she was starting high school and she was playing sports.
Mm-hmm.
So I had no choice but to say the only job that allows me to be in the industry that I love so much and be able to be the head of household and raise my
Yes.
daughter is a loan officer.
Right.
And
yeah, and I think a
love
lot.
it.
Yeah, I think a
Mhm.
lot of women can resonate with that
Yeah,
because as mothers, single moms, raising our children,
sure.
we do what we have to do. We multitask.
Yeah,
But I do remember that was very important for you to be there for your daughter and
yeah.
to be there for your family. And you're doing a fabulous job. I mean,
Here you
you
love.
are. And let's just tap into a little bit about that because we touched on that. I know you face your challenges. Like you
I
said,
did.
you came out of the business for a while to raise your family, and here you are now finding yourself. You went through a divorce, and now you're raising your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking to mortgage lending because this is your
My
passion.
passion.
Yeah, and this
What
is
I
what
love.
you know.
What
I
is
mean,
what I know, what I've known
second
my whole
nature
life.
to you.
Where
Yeah.
I started with helping my parents,
Mhm.
and it's what I do now. I
That's what
help
you-
people that are most of the time they're first-time home buyers, and they're
Yes.
scared because they don't know. They just see this large amount of 400, 500, 600,000, and oh, how am I
Scary.
going to do it? What if I lose my
Scary.
job? What if, all these concerns? And every single one, it reminds me back at my parents. And I always talk to every family, like, what would I want for for those people that represented my parents? What would I wish they would have
Yeah.
um, helped them, guide them, teach them, protect them, all that. So, and that's what I do now.
Yeah.
It's like I try to guide every family. And sometimes, even when families are ready to buy a house and we go over the numbers of their personal finances,
Mhm.
and we come to terms, maybe right now we need to wait a little bit. Let's
Mhm.
reduce the debts, or let's wait until your next promotion, or let's save for the down payment. Or so it becomes a journey
Right.
and not come here, let's pre-qualify you, go get into
Just a
house.
one-time transaction.
Mhm.
It's really like a lifetime journey. You watch
Yes.
the family grow. They become your family.
They become my family,
Yeah.
yes, because I end up getting referrals from their children that now they graduated from college, or they retired, so now they want to move out of state, or
And they're
that
very
happens.
loyal. I mean, I
They
know
are
this.
loyal, yes.
Yeah, the Hispanic
Especially
community.
yes, I love it.
Yes.
I think that's most of my clientele is Spanish speaking, and I think that's one of the things that I love the most.
Is they'll refer all your tias and tios
Yes.
and
The
sobrinos,
gardener.
sobrinas. Yes, the gardener.
Yes.
I love that. I love that.
Yes.
And let's also talk a little bit about. I know you went through your challenges,
Mhm.
but now you're an investor. You did some
Yes, I
exciting
am.
things. You not only did you step into the loan business,
Mhm.
but you also are building your own financial wealth through
Yes, I am.
investing. So it's not just about making the loan, but also taking care of our families in the future. So can you just touch a little bit about that,
Sure.
about being an investor?
Well, let's see. I think when I worked at corporate, was married, moved away from the industry, and then came back. A lot of things happened in the industry. I learned that in order for me to be successful and having the life that I want, meaning having time to with my family, with the people that I love, I need to have multiple sources of income.
Yes.
Because at that time, I just relied on my husband to provide.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then husband is gone.
Right.
So, and parted ways, and everything is
Sure.
great now. But I realized that I can no longer depend on single income because life happens.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter how much you want to stay in one path, life happens.
Life happens.
God
Yeah.
has a plan for me.
Absolutely.
So at that point, I made a personal goal to always seek for ways to earn money in different venues and learned all the time. So not only did I stay in the mortgage industry, but I also became an investor.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm up to 9 properties right now, and
Wow.
I'm hoping to buy a couple more.
That's amazing.
Granted, this happened in the last 5 years.
I know.
And I have a goal in mind. And the reason why I say that is because this is exactly what I tell a lot of the clients that come that want to buy a house, and oh, I didn't qualify for enough, and this is not my ideal home. And the first thing I say is, this should not be your only home that you're gonna buy.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time they'll look at me like, what do you mean? Because in our culture, you buy a house.
Yes.
And you stay there.
You stay there for life.
That's your forever home. And I told
Yes.
this, and I tell them, this should not be I hope to see you in 5 years.
Yes.
You're going to be buying your next home. And it happens.
Yeah.
So it's something that I introduce to my clients because I remind them at one day you're going to retire, and this is going to be just another source of income for you,
Mm-hmm.
and it works. Why?
Yes.
Because I'm doing it. So I'm
You're living it.
taking the
Yeah.
time to educate
Mhm.
our clients and to love what real estate does for a family in any way, whether you're selling or you're just a family, you have
Yeah.
your separate job. Now become an investor. And I said, I will show you, I will tell you,
Mhm.
I'll guide you through the process. And I do
Yeah, because you're doing it yourself.
because I'm doing it.
And I know
Yes.
you started from zero. It's
From
not
zero.
like it was handed to you.
And it was scary.
Or yeah, exactly. Or you had a partner,
For sure.
You basically started from ground 0
Mhm.
and you knew what you had to do for yourself and for
Yes.
your daughter and you're doing it.
Yeah. And I think one thing that I live by and I tell my daughter is never hold back on making a decision out of fear.
Yeah.
If you decide not to go forward because it doesn't benefit you in many ways and what you're looking for in life, then that's fine. But don't stop yourself because of fear. That's not the best advice. And that's what I did.
And I want to speak to that fear because, we all have fear, but I know your faith is very strong.
Very much. Yes.
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 And so it doesn't mean that we're not afraid, but we know that there's a stronger
Mm-hmm.
power. Our
Yes.
faith is stronger that will guide us and get us to the other side. And I believe because I've watched you, not just since 30 years ago, but even now we've been in each other's lives
We
and
have.
we've seen our own children grow up and
Mhm.
and I went through my stuff, you went through your stuff, and then the transformation that we both went through. And I believe it is that faith. It's that strong faith, and it's something that you trust deeply inside, and you know that that's for you. We have to put in the work. We have to take the action.
Sure.
It's not going to come to us, but you've been showing up for yourself.
Yes. And I think the most important part is when we fear the most is when we lack faith. And that's
Mhm.
something that I live by.
Yeah.
So
Say that again because I
so-
love that.
so
Say it out
anytime-
loud so we can
I know.
share it with everybody here. I
That
love it.
anytime we doubt or we fear is when we lack
Yeah.
faith.
Yes.
And as a Catholic woman,
Yes.
I trust in God that He has a plan for me,
Absolutely.
and I'm constantly doing everything I can to move forward. And so when I'm at a crossroads or I'm feeling fear or doubt, I look back and I say, "Oh, I'm doubting my faith.
Yeah.
I need to do something about this."
Yeah.
So
And when you're
it
feeling
works
that
every time.
you go into prayer.
I go into prayer. I attend mass more often. I
Mhm.
become more involved in the church because the closer you are to God, the more you'll hear Him,
Yes.
His word, His guidance,
Yes.
all that.
You
good
connect back to your
Mhm.
faith.
to
anytime.
basic, which is
Yes.
something that my parents instilled in us
Yes.
from birth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can validate that because I also know that that faith that
Mhm.
you talk about is very powerful and
Very,
has gotten
yes.
through you and
Yes, it's
and
got
also
me where I'm at now. Yeah.
exactly and myself as well. I know that that trust and belief that we have is so beautiful. So I wanted you to share that here because we're getting to know you beyond the mortgage
The
senior
loan officer.
loan officer. And I think
the
this
little
is
videos.
yeah, and this is the first time you're sharing publicly to
Yes,
everybody here
that's
on this
true.
podcast. That you're standing up and you're
Mhm.
expressing yourself
Yeah,
for the community to bring awareness and just know that it is possible, but the
it
work
is
has to
possible.
be there.
Yes.
So I know you have some exciting things here, and we're going to go into the mortgage loan officer position now. We started a new year, 2024.
Yes.
And last year, I know because of the interest rates, we took a different direction. We'll say
Sure.
the loans and the real estate. And now there's a lot of buyers out there, first time buyers, 'cause we were talking about first time buyers that are thinking about buying. So let's talk about the first time home buyer here. And anyone out there that's thinking, what would you say to them? Being in the mortgage industry for so long and seeing what the rates have done. I mean, we used to do loans at 13%,
Sure.
and then now, but they're a little bit over 6%.
Yes,
So
they're in the mid sixes.
Mid
They
sixes.
vary every day.
yeah. So what would you say? I'm a first time home buyer. I'm thinking like let's have a conversation about that. What would you say to the first time home buyer and what kind of recommendations would you give them?
Well, the first thing I do, obviously, I talk to them about their plans, their goals for this property. How many family members they have, their jobs, their savings, all that good stuff. But the one of the main questions that I get asked all the time is, when is the best time to buy? That's the number one question that I get every single time. And my answer is always today.
Today.
Because every single family has their own financial situation.
Yes.
Some like to travel a lot, some like to save a lot, some like to eat out a lot. So the numbers are one thing, but if you, in your mind, you say, I want to become a homeowner, I want to start putting money into a property that is going to generate wealth in the future, then this is the time. A lot of times they will say, well, should I wait until the rates? And that's always a concern or whatever. But then I remind them that the rate, this is a 10-year investment, 15-year, 30-year investment. So much can happen from here to then.
Yes.
If you're committed to that, then you will maneuver through what comes with it. When I bought my first house, I was 19 actually.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I believe the rate that I paid when I first bought my first house, I think it was either 10 or 11%.
Wow.
And it was a good rate at that time because I was using the VA. I didn't know because I was a first time home buyer. My company commander said use the benefits of being in the military. So
Beautiful.
go buy a house. So I was like, okay. So I just went and bought a house.
And it worked.
So the fact that the rates were at 10, 11% at that time,
Right.
it meant nothing because at the end of the day, I was able to afford it. And when I sold it, I benefited from all that equity that it built.
Right.
So regardless of the rate being higher or lower is subjective. It's is something that you can afford. Can your family, can your income, can you discipline yourself to say this is going to be a new investment for me?
Yes.
And that's sort of where we have a conversation. What's your plan? And I start telling them the rates will change, and when they do, you can refinance. My goal is, can I get you a transactional loan, a program that you can afford right now? And if it works for you and your family, then right now is the best time for you to buy.
Yes. And I think you touched on something very wonderful here. It was an investment that you can afford because it's not just about the rate, it's about building wealth and building appreciation.
Yes.
And also, it's a long term investment. So, it's having that long term plan, sitting down with them and say, okay, what is your plan for you and your family, and what is it going to look like in 5 years? And I think it's very important that people understand that it's not just the rates, because it's definitely a family investment in wealth.
It is.
And
there's a commitment to say this is our goal. We want to own our house. We don't want to pay the landlord's mortgage. I want to pay my own mortgage. So at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to.
It does. It does.
Yeah. And there's so many programs now too, though.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of programs, and so let's talk about that because I know something exciting is happening this month. You're going to bring forward something in the community here, a buyers, homeowners event.
Yes, it's going to be an event. That's going to be in a few weeks. That's going to be on Tuesday, February 27th. We're going to start, promoting that, and that's going to be for first-time home buyers exclusive for that particular group of families. I'm going to give them all the tools that they need to be able to buy their home. If they're not ready now, I will talk to them about what do you need to do to buy your next home, and teach them and guide them. And so it's going to be an event. I'm looking forward to putting it together now, actually. So yay! And I'm happy. I'm excited about that. So you start seeing a lot of that coming out.
Absolutely, and I'm excited for you, Sylvia, because what you shared, your parents were a first-time home buyer and their experience, and now you're going to be able to share your knowledge and your experience and bringing it forward to all the first-time home buyers or anyone out there that might be interested in getting more information about all the down payment assistance programs.
Then this is it.
For the closing costs for CalHFA, there's the Dream for All, but that might not be for everybody. So I feel it's a great opportunity for anyone out there that might be considering buying a house. And even if it's not your first time you're not a first time home buyer. You might have maybe a son or daughter or someone, a neighbor, anyone, and you do speak Spanish. So
Yes,
you'll
I do.
also be able to communicate with the Latin community here, and I think this event is much needed. And I think you're the perfect person to host it
Thank you.
because if for those of you who don't know, I use Sylvia for all my loans, and I'm not just saying
Thank
that
you.
because she's here on the podcast. You could vouch for that.
Yes.
Even years past, anytime I needed a loan or we needed to put our heads together,
Or your whole family.
my whole
Yeah, your
family, my
brothers, your
friends,
sisters.
everybody.
Yeah.
As a realtor, I would bring her everything. And even the other thing that I want to say is those loans that we have to think outside the box, and that's what I loved about you is we would put our thinking hats together and we're like, okay, how can we work this? How can we make this possible for this homeowner if it was right for them?
If it was right for them.
If it was the right investment.
Mhm.
And that's what I love about you, Sylvia, is
you.
that you are willing to think outside the box and you will try every resource
Yes.
to find
To
a
guide them.
fit and to guide them and to find a fit for that particular
Yeah.
home buyer. And you won't give up. And then if it doesn't make sense, you will also be honest and truthful and tell them, you know what, this isn't for you. Like, I don't recommend this. And so
Mhm.
that's why I come to you. And I said, my own family, my
Yes.
mother, my brother, my
Yes.
sister, everybody comes to you, my
Thank
nieces
you.
and nephews, because I
Yes.
trust you. I trust you
you.
with my loan. And I know you're going to close it. And that's the most important thing is you're going to close it.
That's right.
So it's a blessing, and that's why I wanted to share all this
Thank you.
with everybody here in our community. And I know you've experienced a lot, you've gone through a lot, you've grown a lot, and we're going to see a lot more of you in 2024. You're really getting out there,
I'm
and
finally getting out there. Yes, that's been a challenge.
Yes.
It's. I think a lot of people might not know that I was very introvert growing up. So imagine being born and raised in Mexico,
Yeah.
in a very small town. And then at the age of 16, we moved to another country with a different language, a different
Yeah.
culture. And then so I start as a sophomore, not knowing anybody and not speaking the same language. So it's very hard to say, let me come in. And I think high school years are so important because this is when you're starting to uh, trying to define what am I going to do? Am I going to be the athlete? Am I going to be the genius? Am I going to be the cheerleader? Am I, and the culture is so different because I went to a
Yes.
Catholic school in Mexico. So no, we didn't have that kind of, peer pressure that maybe you see in a bigger city. I think that's probably one of the reasons why I decided to join the military because I really, number one, they paid for my college, but I was eager to feel that confidence, feel a little bit more like what else? I want to reach my potential, but I don't know how because I'm in a different country. I don't even speak the language, or I'm learning the language, and so yeah, so having to becoming a loan officer, that was quite a journey, and I love it now. And now is becoming more of a public speaker,
Yes.
and that is
I love that
challenge.
public speaker.
Yes,
Yes.
and I'm scared. And it's funny because I'm comfortable talking to families.
Yes.
I'm very active in our church. I was active in the PTA and PTA president, taught catechism. So I've done so much with families and children.
Yeah.
But the thought of, okay, let me host an event, like
You're gonna do amazing.
but I'm going to do it anyway
Yes.
because I won't stop doing something out of fear.
Yes.
I will do it. I might, mess up here and there, but I'll do it anyway.
And I think it's time. It's time, and for you to just step out of that what we call the comfort zone
Yeah.
and really bringing forth your gifts. I would say your gifts and your knowledge
Yeah.
about
That's how we grow.
Yes, exactly. And through
Yeah.
your own experiences and as an investor and everything that you're doing, you're able to share this with everybody.
Correct.
So I just want to acknowledge you
Thank you.
and, being courage, the courageous woman that you are stepping out and not folding in and, not playing that victim, but the victor, you're coming through. And not only that, but you're ready to show others how they can do it for themselves as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, and we can be here. I know we're going to do other podcasts coming
For
soon
sure.
because, I feel there's a lot you can share with your
Yeah, I'd love
knowledge.
to.
But in this particular episode, I just want to give you the opportunity to be able to, if there's a message you would like to give out to a woman or anybody out there, anything from your heart, something that you say, you know what, based on my experiences, this is what I would like to offer and share with people. And you could, look in the camera and just say it
Let's
to
see.
them.
What comes to mind? I would have to say, have faith in yourself. Have faith in your ability to do whatever you feel you want to do. Set high goals for yourself. Focus on your abilities to grow. And if you don't know, you learn it, and not sit on all the mishaps or the problems that came into your life. They're past. That's life. Life will always happen. But if you have faith in God and faith in yourself, the sky's the limit.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, my beautiful friend. I'm
Thank
so
you,
excited
Lala.
to have you, and
This was fun.
blessings to you
Thank
always,
you.
and thank you for saying yes and sharing you and your
Yes.
life here with us today on Heart to Heart Miracles.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Love you,
Bye,
Lala.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.